Over the past 2 weeks, we have been focusing on how to raise our children with excellent midos, with great values. With Sarah Blau giving us the foundation, Mrs. Schoonmaker giving us the practicals. But what do we do when it just doesn't work? How do we react when our children are being disrespectful? Chutzpah is something that is so hard for a parent to deal with. In the moment, I can tell you for myself, when a child is being disrespectful, it's so upsetting. And we have the tremendous opportunity to hear from Rabbi Dov Brezak, who is really one of the leaders of our Dor in Chinuch, with tremendous experience of the last few decades as a parent, as a principal, as an author, as a lecturer, as a consultant. He trains parenting coaches. His groundbreaking bestseller book, Chinuch and Turbulent Times with Artscroll, is worldwide acceptance. And one of his specialties is helping parents and training parent coaches in how to deal with chutzpah in the moment. And without further ado, enjoy the episode. Raising children in general is not easy. Throw in the desire to have passionate and committed Jews. Now that's next level hard. With weekly episodes on our parenting hierarchy, you will find the answers to your biggest parenting questions and gain the best practices you need to raise the children the way you want, to raise the Jews next door. Welcome back to another episode of the Jews Next Door. This week, we have the incredible zchus, the incredible pleasure to be speaking to one of the leaders, one of the real parenting experts in our day, Rabbi Dov Brezak, who has really so much incredible advice and expertise as a principal and author. Is worldwide acclaimed book Chinuch and Turbulent Times, and he has so many practical techniques that really speak to the turbulent times that parents and children face. And it's really such an incredible pleasure to have this opportunity to speak with you. So thank you so very much, Brezak, for taking the time. One of the real leaders of our Dor to speak about raising the Jews next door. So thank you so much.
You're welcome, Rabbi. Just if I could interject with your permission that I'm still alive, there's no need to make a eulogy. It's a little bit here, a little bit there. Okay, I don't mind. But
this is only mixa shivcha,
yeah, that's what I'm afraid of. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Please.
So, we've within this series, we've already discussed the basics and the practical of aspects of parenting our children to have morals and values, midos. And in this episode, we're going to be discussing the intervention. So I guess just to get us right into it, when one has really tried to teach their children good midos, good morals, and yet their child is just simply not receptive to it, what should a parent do at that point?
So I think it's important to know there are a lot of steps and prerequisites before you teach your children midos. One of them is you have to build the foundation so that they accept your teaching. To teach without taking the child's acceptance into consideration is a mistake. The child will decide himself if he'll accept your teachings or not. You can't just teach him and think I've fulfilled my obligation. You have to make sure it's being accepted on the other side. It's like a teacher giving a lecture and all the children are sleeping. You haven't done your job. So you have to build the foundation. The foundation today, because today we live in a generation where there's a lot of chutzpah and there is what's right is not necessarily something that attracts people. What they want is what attracts them more than what's right. Even the truth is a fascinating thing. There's a new word they came up with. It's called post-truth. Post-truth defined means that what's truthful is not as a deciding factor as what I feel. And my personal truth, which is
what do you mean by that?
I don't mean that, but that's the secular people say we're living in a generation of post-truth where what's right, I'll say it to you in my words, what's right is not important. What I want is important. And that's going to be my truth, even if it's not the truth. So therefore, we have to make sure
everyone's justified to have whatever they want to
do, and
the
facts don't say anything to me. So I'll give you an example. In parenting, somebody said, teach children kibbud avayim, teach them aseret hadibros. It says in the aseret hadibros, kabed es avicha v'yasimecha. What do you need more than that? And I've told that many times. And I myself asked this question to a student of the Chazon Ish, one of the greatest mechanachim in our generation in Eretz Yisrael, Rav Moshe Turk Zatzal. His son is a big mechanech in Eretz, famous, Rabbi Eliezer Turk. And Rav Turk used to give us parenting workshops about 30 years ago. And I once asked him about this question. I said, why can't we teach children Kabbalah Sivecha Simecha, Seres HaDibros? You know what he said to me? He spoke to Rav Dessler, and Rav Dessler, the Michtav Miliyahu, told him that children are businessmen. Children do what pays for them. So if it doesn't pay for me, I don't care that it says in the Seres HaDibros. This is Rav Dessler talking 60 years ago, 70 years ago. Look what wisdom they have. It's mamish amazing. So Lamaisa, when you teach children morals and values and good midos, what's in it for them? They're not going to accept it just like this. They have to. So we have to take into. I'm going too far, too fast. They have to. We have to have the foundations, and the foundation is to make sure that they'll accept my teaching. What is the first thing that will guarantee that they accept my teachings? Because they're out for themselves, and if I don't make sure to take the measures that they'll accept my teachings, they won't. We don't do today what's right because it's right. We do what we want. So therefore, the main thing in the prerequisite is that children see you as being on their side. If you are out for me, I trust you and I accept what you have to say. And that's something which needs a whole podcast in and of itself. But we'll leave it right here. But if a child knows I'm out for you, I'm on your side, and what you want, your feelings and what you want are important to me, then they'll trust me and they'll accept my teachings. It doesn't mean that I give in to the child and do whatever he wants. It means that I'm always considering the child, his feelings, and what's important to him when I make my decision. And the child knows that. That's what it means. And that's point one.
So meaning the validation of it, the validation of the child to.
No, validation is a very shallow term, because a validation means I'll tell you, yeah, I understand you. Yeah, you feel this way. I'll be a therapist. Oh, you feel this way. You're really upset. Oh, I understand. That's not that's my fake cigarette. Another therapist don't smoke today, but it means that your feelings have to really be important to me. What's important to you, I heard from Reb Noach Orlovik, the legendary mechanech, what's important to you has to be important to me, and I have to show that to you, and not just one time. Child has to know that. Now, that's only the one foundation. Right. There's a next step, and that's I have to be a role model for these values. I could scream at you, then there's a joke that the principal brought the father this child was speaking inappropriately. The principal called the boy's father into the office. So the father comes into the office. You beep, beep, beep. How many beep, beep, beep times did I beep, beep, beep tell you not to use inappropriate language? Beep, beep, beep. I'm just saying, so you have to be a role model. Now, that everybody knows about the role model. I just like to add in one dimension of a role model that might be overlooked and not considered. And it's not how you act with others. It's how you interact with the child. You want to model to the child kindliness. You have to be kindly. You have to have respect. Oh, let's say respect. We're talking today about Chutzpah, I hope. So let's talk about respect. Yeah. You want the child to have respect. Do you respect the child? And that's a very big question. Do you interact with the child with respect? Well, he's my child. I could do whatever I want. He has to have respect for me. I don't have respect for him. Are you sure? What does it mean? You have to have respect for him in a different way. Don't do what he says. You're not his slave. You're not going to do his bidding, but you have to respect him. You have to protect his dignity, not embarrass him, not talk to him condescendingly. Have you heard of Rabbi Gamliel Rabinovitz, the big Mekubal in Eretz Yisrael? Famous.
Not familiar.
He's a Rosh Hashiva of Shar HaShamayim in Yerushalayim, the Yeshiva Mekubalim. So he told me once that just like there's kabed es avicha v'esimecha, there's kabed es bonecha v'esbitecha. I'm also a student of Rav Ades. There's a big Mekubal, Rabbi Yaakov Ades in Eretz. Have you heard of him? He learned with me in yeshiva. I was at his bar mitzvah. His father, is my Rosh Yeshiva, and he told us the same thing. He said that the way to get your children to kabed es avicha v'esimecha is kabed es banecha v'espitecha. Could I tell you a story?
Please.
I'm not letting you ask enough questions. Is that okay?
No, it's great. It's
You
perfect.
didn't know what you were getting into, Rabbi Yair.
I love it. It's amazing.
Yeah, so here's a story Rav Adis told over when he was 11 years old. Now, his father, Rabbi Yaakov Adis, was very, very big Dayan, and Rabbi Yashiv used to consult with him, and they were on the same Beis Din, I think, for many years. He was older than Rabbi Yashiv, but Rabbi Yashiv was very close to him. The original Rabbi Yaakov Adis today is the grandson. So Rav Adis, when he was 11 years old, they had a bunch of brothers, and each one of them are called knackers, like big Talmidei Chachamim. And so Rav Adis' older brother caught him. He didn't bench. He ate, and he didn't say Berachas Hamazon. So he said, "You didn't say Berachas Hamazon." This is what the brother says to Rav Adis. And Rav Adis said, "Yes, I did." And he was desperate. So he grabbed, there was a siddur on the table. "I said it from this." And he shows the siddur. It was a machzor for Yom Kippur. There's no benching and a machzor for Yom Kippur. So his brother caught him red-handed. So now his brother grabbed him to the father, the big Rabbi Yaakov Adis, the original Rabbi Yaakov Adis, that's how. Right. And he says, he said Birchas Hamazon from this siddur, and he shows him it's a machzor for Yom Kippur. So now we have three things to be mechanech for. Let's make a cheshbon. We have number one, Rav Adis, the Rosh Yeshiva, my 11-year-old Rav Adis. He didn't say Birchas Hamazon. Big avera. He lied, avera number two, and he had the audacity that when he's caught lying, he's still holding on to his lie. Chutzpah, Birchas Hamazon, lying, and chutzpah, all three. So how's the father, the great sage, how's he going to mechanech his son never to do this again? Will he take away, you can't go on your bicycle for a month? You can't have ice cream for 7 weeks? We will make you eat bread and water for 3 days? No, this is what he did. Listen to this. It's not to be believed. He looked at the brother and him, and he said, if he said that there's Birchas Hamazon in that siddur, then there's Birchas Hamazon in that siddur.
Wow.
Now, this is a little bit crazy because how's he being mechanech? He's also lying. So he's not only condoning the criminal, but he's joining in the act of the criminal act. What in the world is going on? So you want to hear something fascinating? And I think this is a big klal for chinuch. Parents should know. We measure chinuch according to the results of our chinuch. Listen to that's what I heard from one of the great sages of our times. So what were the results of this chinuch? Rav Adis Jr., my Rosh Yeshiva, the 11-year-old, he said that from that minute on, he fell in love with Birchas Hamazon. Wow. And not only that, he said, and he is one of the most truthful people on the face of this earth. I know him for over 40 years, my Rosh Yeshiva. So the chinuch worked pretty good, huh? What was the point over here? The father saw that his son is getting embarrassed. And he said, more important than being mechanech him at this time is preserving his dignity. That's called kabed es banecha v'espitecha. If you interact with your child like that, you're not going to have chutzpah problem. You show your child so much respect, he'll respect you a world. So that's the second point I was saying. Aside from your child knowing what's important to him is important to you, the way you interact with him will role model what you want him to learn. And that's important to keep in mind. There's a lot more to say, but you have more questions. I don't want to keep you with this.
Yeah. So does that model, meaning the foundations of, first them needing to know that them being able to accept it, and what does that mean to be able to really feel like they're on your side, and in terms of being a role model on how you interact, is that for every age? Meaning is maybe more when they're getting a little bit older already, but what about even with a younger child who can't yet necessarily fully understand that to that
Right.
same
So
level.
when children are younger, I do think that being on their side has to be a constant, even from the youngest age. Really treating them with dignity. What's important to them is important to you. But when children are younger and they don't have seichel, you need to be a lot more in control because they on their own won't come to the conclusions we want them to. So a child who's 3 years old and 4 years old will tell you, I want now to eat nash before supper. And what's important to you is important to me. So, or a child, a 3-year-old, one mother told me she explains everything to the child, and that way the child listens. But the problem is, she went now to kindergarten, and the kindergarten teacher doesn't explain everything to the girl, so she's not listening in kindergarten. Or a child says, I don't want to go to sleep at night because it's important to them not to go to sleep. So you tell me, oh, I heard from Rabbi Brezak that you should let your child stay up till 2 in the morning. One mother told me that her little baby, I think 2.5, she keeps him up till 12. He doesn't want to go to sleep. What should I do? Pick him up by his nose and put him in bed. Understand? So we're not telling you, not giving you liberal parenting. Here, a child, 3-year-old, comes to the house with his mother. They were out somewhere and they come in. The boy says to the mother, Mommy, you go first. Mother says, okay. She starts going first. No, I want to go first. So he starts going. He says, no, Mommy, you go first. The mother sat there for 20 minutes playing this game. I told the mother, don't play this game. Pick him up and put him in the house. What are we saying? When children are younger, a lot more conditioning is necessary. We call it assertiveness. We had a case of a 22-month-old that didn't want to eat with a bib. And it was such a mess, the table and the boy, she had to wash him in a bath after he would eat. So the mother insisted. I told the mother to be assertive. So she be assertive. She was afraid. She didn't want to. Finally, she said, that's it. We're going to be assertive. And she stood her ground. It took a while. It took over an hour. She said to the boy, I can't give you tea till you have a bib. And he was screaming and crying. And he moved his high chair and he was back and forth, 22-month-old. At the end of the day, he acquiesced. He was fine. And the next few times he started putting on his bib. Not only that, but they realized they should be more assertive with him with eating at night because he doesn't want to eat. And they started doing that. He started eating and he was sleeping through the night because he was hungry. And that's why he wasn't sleeping through the night. That is a 22-month-old. That means to say, now, there's a lot more to say, but it doesn't mean children have to accept what you're doing. The younger ones, about from the age of 4 or 5 down, they accept even when you're assertive, usually. So you can be more assertive with them, and you should be, because they don't have the seichel to do it. Today, there's a school of thought that children have a mind of their own. Let them decide on their own. And I saw a book for preschoolers. It means 4 or 5. If you're going to the park and the child doesn't want to go home now, it's time to go home. Understand that he has a mind of his own. He has a right to that. That's insanity. It's insanity by definition because the child has no seichel.
Right.
So you're going to let insanity control the situation. It's ridiculous. You pick the child up and you bring him home. Now, there are children that they won't accept that even if you are assertive. We call them fighting children. We have a different list of rules for them. But the idea is, to answer your question, and again, I'm talking too much. I apologize.
No, please.
But the older children can work with. We have a scale. We go like this. If children are 4, 5, and down, you can use up to 40% assertiveness. As they get older, till the age of 12, you have to knock it down to 20%. From the age of 12 to 15, it has to go down to 10%. From 15 to 18 to 0. What do you use in the meantime? At the same time, you're decreasing your discipline, your assertiveness. You have to increase your communication. And that way, as a child is older, you're more communicating with him than controlling him.
I love it. That's fascinating. Wow. That's amazing. Okay, so getting back to, you mentioned the word chutzpah before. So let's get to the basics of what is your definition of chutzpah? I mean, what is it and what is it not?
Right. Chutzpah is something that there's nowhere you won't see it. It's all over the place, as our sages teach us. If I, in my humble opinion, definition of chutzpah is when what I want breaks through the boundaries of what's correct and what's right. That means there are traffic rules. But I want to get to where I want to get to, and I don't want to wait for all this traffic. So I'm going to go on the side. I'm going to cut through. I'm going to cut ahead. I'll have a lot of chutzpah. I'll make people, could be I'll bother people. Could be I'll cut people off. I don't care. I need to get to where I want to get to, and you're in my way. So I'm going to do what I want. That's called chutzpah. When what I want, and nothing will stop me. Not rules, not boundaries, not authority, not even my conscience. Today, there's the most popular drink is no longer Coca-Cola. Did you know that, Rabbi Yair?
Did not know that.
You don't know? Okay, the most popular drink is Red Bull.
Red Bull gives you
Red Bull
wings,
is an energy drink. It's a whole different thing. Now, there are different types of energy drinks. This is around the world I'm talking. There are different types of energy drinks in the world. One is called Blue. BLU. It's the color blue. They sell all these drinks all over the world. So in Israel, I saw a sign once. It said, "Blue, your mind." Let me explain to you the psychology behind the sign. The psychology is that your mind is in your way because your mind has a conscience. It won't let you get loose. It won't let you do whatever you want. Blue your mind, blow it up. Just drink this drink, get your mind out of here. Now you could do whatever you want. Nothing will stop you. I was at an event. I was at a banquet recently, believe it or not, and the guy gets up. There were a whole bunch of speeches. He says, I know everybody's like in the cages waiting to get loose out of the cages. Just wait 2 more speeches and we'll let you loose. It was like,
oh boy.
That's chutzpah. This was, it's supposed to be a Jewish event, not religious, but so that's the idea. Chutzpah is nothing stands in my way, not respect, not authority, not my conscience, right and wrong, nothing. I do what I want.
Right. And obviously, and we mentioned before that, obviously, as you mentioned, because the Mashiach, that's going to be more prevalent, and especially nowadays with that new idea of, I forgot the what was the idea of the truth?
Post-truth.
That post-truth, right? So that idea, but what's the core? What's the core of that idea of chutzpah, being able to do what you want? What's the root of that? Where's that come from?
So let me quote one of my mentors, Rav Moshe Turk, who I told before, the student of the Chazon Ish, was a master mechanech. Many of the Gedolei Hador, the great sages of our times now, have been his students. Rabbi Aryeh Finkel from Eretz Yisrael, Rabbi Dov Brezak, if you heard of these big Rosh Yeshiva, students of his. He was a master. The Stipler, Reb Chaim Kanievsky's father, used to stand up for him.
Wow.
It was mamish amazing. So he told us that in the name of Rabbi Elio Lapian, he said that chutzpah is a blessing. What does that mean?
What does that mean?
It means, you want me to tell you? I'll tell you. Okay.
Please.
Chutzpah is a blessing means the reason you have so much chutzpah in Mashiach's times today, nowadays, is because you need chutzpah to exist. You need chutzpah to succeed as a true Jew. Without chutzpah, the pull is so strong, you're not going to stand up and say no. You go in the street and you see something indecent. It's wherever you go. So you're going to close your eyes and look away. You need chutzpah for that. Otherwise, it'll pull you in.
Wow.
Even we teach parents, even regarding predators. Today, the world is not a safe world. You have a lot of, unfortunately, pedophiles, heaven forbid, and all kinds of other things. Even somebody you don't suspect. Now, I'm not here to make you paranoid. We have webinars. Can I mention my website just for a minute, Rabbi? Or just
please
passing?
do,
So we have a website called Chinuch.
I'll definitely put in the show notes as well.
Okay, chinuch-lifelines.org. We have about 15 webinars on there that you can purchase, but one of them is helping your children stay safe. And we teach over there, you have to teach children to speak up and scream and have chutzpah. So I know a story about a 7-year-old that the guy tried molesting him. He was in a basement near the shul playing, and somebody came over, and he started kicking the guy, scratching the guy, punching the guy, and he got away. I know my granddaughter lives in Lakewood, and when she was a little girl, somebody stopped the car. Little girl, do you want a candy? Come. And she started screaming and screeching, and my son came out with the car and chased him.
Wow.
And I think the police eventually got a hold of him. I think they let him loose also. That's a different story. And stories about people that are attached. I'm sorry to say, I'll tell you a story. A girl that we know of was on a bus, and somebody put his hand on her. So she picked up the hand, she held it up, and says, "Hey, anybody lose a hand? I found it on my lap." Now that's a big chutzpah, right? That's not nice.
Right,
It's not even nice that they say it over in a podcast, is it? It's very nice because that's what you need today. Because I know a 15-year-old, I know other cases, 15-year-old was sitting on the bus and somebody was playing with his private parts and he didn't do anything to stop the person. He's embarrassed. So that's just an example where you need chutzpah to be safe today. Chutzpah you need, and I don't want to go on and on, but you need chutzpah even dealing with people, dealing with fix-it people. I know somebody who called somebody to fix their washing machine, and he brought back the wrong part. So the person called the company and said, brought back. So they did it again, and they came back with the wrong part again. They had to call 3 times. And I know somebody else who had a fix-it man come over and fix their appliance, and it didn't work. And I said to the person, go call the guy back. No, it's okay. It cost him a pretty penny. And even so, they were embarrassed to call the person back. You need chutzpah today to function. Of course, it has to be channeled in the right way, but that's why we have it, because we need it. So that's a very important message for children, for parents. We're not here to obliterate chutzpah and destroy it, because then we're destroying the child's very essence. We are here to guide it and cultivate it.
So what does that mean? What does that mean to guide it and cultivate it?
That means help children harness what they want to want the right thing. Help children trust me, and then they'll accept me as their authority. Like, instead of working in the ways of force and control, work in the ways of acceptance and motivation. We say it this way, that the main chinuch is not through obligation, it's through motivation. That's because we're dealing with chutzpah and there's no respect for authority. There's a sefer, Rav Turk told me once, the Choivas HaTalmidim. Have you ever heard of that sefer? A classic work. The Eish Kodesh, the Eish Kodesh. So in his introduction, he says makes such a profound statement. 90 years ago, he was thinking, almost 90 years, he was thinking of these things before the Holocaust. Imagine, he said that it used to be, remember, it's 90 years ago, he's saying, it used to be that you could tell a child, you're wrong, and he would say, you're right, and I'm wrong. But nowadays, quote unquote, 90 years ago, don't tell me what to do. I'll do what I want. That's the chutzpah I'm talking about.
When you read that introduction, you think he could be talking about a nowadays generation.
Today, it's not just don't tell me what to do. It's I'm going to tell you what to do. It's worse.
Right.
A mother tells me that her 8-year-old tells the mother before she comes up, Mommy, I'm going to school. Now, when I come home, I want my lunch ready. I want the living room clean, and I want the air conditioner on. This is an 8-year-old. He's telling her mother what to do. So,
oh, boy.
It's really upside down.
Oh, yeah. So take us through that process. I mean, how can we help them, guide them to want the right things in order to really channel that chutzpah? I mean, what does that look like in a practical sense?
So let's take values that you started speaking about values. Let's take something like teaching a child to daven. I want to teach a child to daven. So there's one way. You grab him to shul and you make him sure he has his finger on the place. And every little while he's dreaming, give him a karate chop. like that. I've seen parents do that. I was in shul one time. I saw it. I couldn't believe it with my own eyes, but a boy's wearing tefillin. It means he's bar mitzvah already. And the father goes over to him, and he didn't like the way his son was davening, so he took his finger and he put it in the boy's mouth to make him daven better, move his lips. I went over to the father. I said, I don't think you're supposed to mechanech that way. Oh, I didn't know. That's one way to be mechanech. Parents are not going to do that. Excuse me, this is the 21st century. We don't do that anymore. But you can criticize a lot. What kind of davening is that? Do you think you're sitting in but that's how you daven. A shame on you, and nothing's good. Your davening is not worth anything, and they could say things like that. And we've heard worse things. Educators that have told the children you're going to burn in Gehenna the way you daven and things like that. Heaven forbid. I would read you a monologue on davening. I don't want to read you right now. I read it today in a workshop about a child who went off the derech, and he said it's Gehenna. But he says, davening, what should I do? He hasn't davened for 2 years. And he says, but what should I do? Daven? It's also Gehenna. And because and he started, you see how the criticism really did a job on him. So that's not the way to get your child to daven. That's called obligating. So you'll force him, you'll pull him by the ear, you'll make him go, you'll be a helicopter parent and hover over him. That's not the way. To get a child to harness the I want, that chutzpah that he wants to do. So we do it in two ways. Number one is that the external setting should be something he enjoys. There should be positive association. I'll give you an example. I had an argument once. I went on a Shabbaton. They called me to speak, and I was speaking at night for the community, and somebody asked me, he bothers him tremendously that the kids play outside of the shul. Can't stand it in the hallways. Now, they're not playing in the sanctuary. They're playing in the hallways. It bothers him tremendously. He can't stand it. Kids only come to shul to play. And I said, I think it's fantastic. I really like it. Why? Because if kids like playing and they get to play, they'll like to come to shul. So they'll have a positive association. So he didn't like that. He was arguing with me. But in the meantime, somebody stood up who happened to be the girls' principal of the girls' school in that community. And she said to this day, she loves coming to shul because when she was a little girl, she used to play in the hallway in this very shul the guy was arguing with me.
Wow.
That's one thing. Another example is what kind of shul do you daven in? Some adults daven in a shul where it's very dry, very slow, very serious, very with kavanah, and it's very good. But what if your son wants to daven in another shul where they have a kiddush and they daven quicker? What about that? In your shul, they don't have a kiddush. It's all work and no play. So should you let him go? That's the question they asked me once. And Reb Shmuel Kamenetsky, I gave my answer. I said, of course you should let him go. They asked Reb Shmuel Kamenetsky, and Reb Shmuel Kamenetsky says, what do you mean let him go? Go with him.
Right.
Go to the shul that they have more fun in. Go to the shul where they daven quicker. They start later and they finish earlier. Go to the shul where they're kids friendly. We'll have a kiddush and they'll throw a lot of candies when they have an afruf or a bar mitzvah, and where your son can get hagba and gelila, not hagba, And the idea is the positive associations. That's one. That's just one part. There's another part. There are two parts to davening. I'm sorry, I'm giving you a whole discourse here, but one part of Chinuch, Reb Volba taught us. Shlomo Volba, the Alei Shur. I was very close with him for a number.
Sure.
One part of Chinuch he taught us is the guf and there's the neshama. There are two parts. The person has a guf and he has a neshama. When guf means the inanimate parts of Chinuch, the emotions, going through the motions, the habits, the structures, the routines. So, and the neshama is the experience. So in the guf part of davening, when you want to teach the value of davening, make sure that you have positive associations. Like we're saying, a shul the kid likes, and go out to play, and the davening is not too long and too hard for him. And of course, you don't criticize him a lot. Rather, you either leave him alone like Rabbi Yashuv told us to leave 11-year-olds alone when they're daydreaming, or you start little by little complementing. There's another part of davening, and that's the I want the experience of davening. We teach parents. Parents say that, if I teach my children Be'urei Tefillah, that'll help them daven. I think that if you teach children that davening is the way to get what they want, that will help them. But that's so selfish. That's so not right. That's the way you teach children to daven. Teach them to daven selfishly, then they'll be motivated. The I want will be connected to davening. I'll give you one example. A mother asked us, her 6-year-old girl is in a Beis Yaakov with hundreds of girls, and they have a raffle every week. And the girl wanted to daven that she should win the raffle. So the mother said, I should tell her not to, because why? She's not going to win. Of course, she's not going to win. And why? If she'll daven and she won't win, it'll be a chinuch that your davening doesn't get answered. The mother's smart, right? So I said, no, that she should daven, and she should daven more. Not just one time a day, a few times a day. So they did that. And she won the raffle. And the older sister saw that she won the raffle. So the older sister also davened, and she also won the raffle. And the middle sister also wanted to win the raffle, and she davened, and she didn't win the raffle. Came to the mother complaining, and she said, it's not fair. Everybody's winning the raffle except me. So the mother said, what can I do? It's not up to me. So the other girls, the older sister and the younger sister, went with the middle sister, and they said, we're going to daven with you together. And they did that enough times, and she also won it. So you got a family of winners from davening. Now, people, I'll just quickly, I'm sorry, I'm talking so much. I have to stop. But one point here is that people ask me, but Hashem says no. You don't always get what you want. I'm davening for this for years and years and years. I'm not getting it. Does it mean that? But if you lost something, don't you look for it? You might not find it, but you might find it. And a lot of times you do find it. A lot of times Hashem answers you yes. So of course you should daven, and a lot of times you're not davening enough. Have you davened for something 6 hours? I know somebody whose kids were off to Dera. He davened 4 times 6 hours. Have you done a 6 hour? But you really are interested, but how long are you davening for this? Are you davening seriously, like an hour every day for a year? The Shomer Emunim, the Mavakshi Emunah Rebbe, didn't have children for 32 years. And the last 2 years, imagine, he went every day to Keva Rachel, and he said a whole Sefer Tehillim. And he had twins 10 years ago. So just people that never give up.
Wow.
I'm not saying that's what you have
it's
to
like
do.
The Gemara says by it's like the Gemara says by Hashem, by Moshe, where Hashem told Moshe, stop davening. And
But refuse him if he would
that if
continue.
Moshe would have kept asking, he would have went through.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. The Sfas Emes says, if Klal Yisrael would have davened for Moshe, it would have been answered. They didn't realize. So it's very interesting. So,
wow. Fascinating. Would you say that there are different types of chutzpah? Meaning, and I guess, and then to add to that question, if there are different types, I guess first of all, answer if there are, but if there are different types, does the type determine the proper way to respond?
It's a very good question, and I would answer in the affirmative, yes. And there's the spirit of chutzpah, as we explained, when it's coming from a place of chutzpah. And there are a lot of times when there's the act of chutzpah, it's not really coming from a place of chutzpah. There are many reasons a child could do chutzpah. So he's acting with chutzpah, he's not intending to be chutzpah. A child could be chutzpah because he's in pain. Or that's one reason. So he's lashing out at you out of pain. Child could be chutzpah because he's pressured. Child could be chutzpah because he's testing you. Child could be chutzpah because he doesn't know that what he's doing is chutzpah, because children don't know their place today. They think they're equals with their parents, but they don't mean anything. And a child could be chutzpah there are many reasons the child could be chutzpahdik, and of course, the interaction is determined by why the child is doing what he's doing. If the child is in pain, what do you think the proper response would be? It wouldn't be to discipline him. It would be to feel his pain and realize his pain and help him feel better. And then on his own, the child is pressured. Who says, I'll give you an example. Sometimes feeling the child's distress and pressure that brought him to the chutzpah, that will alleviate the chutzpah. I'll give you an example. Can I give an example? A seven-year-old girl. She comes home and she says she needs a new bag for school. And the mother says, well, I'm sorry, we don't buy new bags for school until the beginning of the school year, which is in 2-3 months. Then we'll buy you a new bag. So for tomorrow, I'll give you the one spare bag we have that we use for trips. But otherwise, we're using you can't. But the girl said, but it's shredded. It doesn't look nice. I'm sorry, we have our budget, but I'm going to be embarrassed. Sorry, you get one school. We can't buy a new school bag every year. You have to figure something else out. So the girl starts screaming at the mother, and she's throwing things at the mother, saying, you're this and you're that. And she's tantruming into the big chutzpah. Where's this chutzpah coming from? Chutzpah is coming from the girl really doesn't want to be embarrassed. It's embarrassing for she's embarrassed in front of all her friends. She's going with a shredded thing. Her friends may tell her your parents are poor and other things that children do say often. So, they can be insensitive and cruel without realizing and whatever. So what would be the right thing to do over here? Should you call the child on the chutzpah? I don't think so. I think you should say to the child, I understand we can't buy you a new bag, but I'm going to do everything that you won't get embarrassed. Let's think what we can do. At the end of the day, if you can't come up with something else, then you'll have to get her a new bag. But the point is, and that's what we said in the beginning, when the child's feelings are important to you, more than being mechanech the child
when you're on their side.
That's called being on their side. That more important than teaching them to budget is that you care they shouldn't be embarrassed. Like we had with Rav Adis, the story back at the beginning of the podcast.
Sure. But how would a parent be able to read the situation and say, this chutzpah is because of, in that case, the embarrassment, or it could be because they're tired, they're hungry, it's not something that they want. Like there's so many different possibilities, and then depending on what is driving the chutzpah in that situation, that should determine what your response is. So what's the best way for a parent to be able to read that situation?
So look, usually parents, and certain things like you're saying, if they're tired, if they're hungry, parents know that. You know if your child is hungry or there's something. So that's something you alleviate the symptom by just dealing with the symptom instead of dealing with the chutzpah. Not calling it chutzpah, calling the child is hungry, get him to eat something, get him to sleep or whatever it is.
Right.
In cases where you don't know, there's a very helpful thing to do, and that's ask why. Why did you do that? Why are you saying that? Is it not chutzpah? And you can see from the child's answer why he's doing it. Sometimes children are doing it subconsciously because they want negative attention. Children get a big thrill out of getting negative attention, so they themselves don't know why they're doing it. That's something you have to either take workshops to learn, to develop an awareness of, or you consult with somebody. It's not a bad idea to get guidance in parenting today because it's very tricky, more than it ever has been. So in general, there are a lot. I'm not promoting myself. There are a lot of good parenting people out there. Many of them go and pick and choose the one that suits you, but it's worthwhile to either take a parenting book. Parenting workshops are better. Become aware how to parent today. It's not something you don't have, but my parents didn't need it. My grandparents didn't need it. Yeah, but they don't have children telling them to have lunch for them and put the air conditioner on. And other chutzpahs was 7-year-old told his mother, she sent me a letter. 7-year-old tells the mother, look, you don't make a supper the way you're supposed to. You're not a mother. started calling her by her first name. So this is in
No way.
America,
Oh my God.
America, yeah. And this is
Ay, ay,
par for the course.
ay, 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 ay. Well, I guess that's a good segue because, I don't know exactly what age that would be, but I'm sure that, we could probably have somewhat of a guess as to what age that would be. And I'm curious, as children go through different stages and ages, what does the intervention with chutzpah look like at the different ages and stages?
So before anything, I reiterate that you must have a very close kesher with your child. And from a young age, and part of that is you have to spend time with him, at least a half hour once a week. If you don't have too many children, if you have 15 children, you have to make a rotation. You could do one and once every 2 weeks, but you have to have time with your children to listen to them, get to know them, and be close with them. You have to do things for your children. There's a list of things. I'm not going to go into that now, but that's the prerequisite that they don't grow up thinking you're not on their side and all you want to do is make them religious. I must tell you a story that I heard from a principal in the States. He told me that the father wanted to learn with his son. And the boy never, 11-year-old, the boy never agreed. Come, let's learn together. I want to go over what you learned during the week. No, I won't. One day the father says to his son, I don't want to learn with you. Can we go for a walk together? I love you. Just want to spend time with you. So you know what the boy said? Oh, really? Okay, you can learn with me.
Hmm.
What does that
Wow.
mean? It means that until now, the boy saw that his father wants to make him religious. Now he said that the father loves him. If you love me, you can make me religious. This is what we've been saying before
Right.
as well. If a child sees you're on his side, you want to teach morals, you want to teach values, you want to teach self-disciplines and self-control. You can't teach anything the child thinks you don't care about it. Well, of course I care about him. I do his laundry, do his this, I do. Yeah, but are you on his side? Is what's important to him important to you? Are his feelings important to you? Or you just interested? Don't tell me, don't speak that way because that's Lashon Hara. Do you know what's bothering him? Do you know why he's feeling that way? So your question was, does it change with ages? It does, as we said before, as the child gets older, the discipline gets less and the communication has to be increased.
Right.
With older children, you talk more, you discuss with them more. You don't control them or discipline. It's more of a, how do we call it? A dual shituf pu'ula. How do you say it in English? More of a, you're cooperating, you're working together,
Right.
as opposed to I'm the one in control and you have to listen.
Sure. And what about with genders, with different genders? Meaning, does it change whether you're dealing with a boy versus a girl?
Now, I want to tell you something very interesting, my friend. The Maisa, in all the years that I'm parenting, I never differentiated between genders until you asked me this question right now. And it's a fascinating thing. I started thinking to myself, is there really a difference between boys and girls? And now I'm thinking, why haven't I taught this in my classes? And I think that now, of course, there's a difference. Girls can be a bit more sensitive than boys, but believe it or not, there's no cloud today because today you find boys more sensitive than girls. So you have all kinds. So why haven't I taught this? Because we teach Chanoich lanar al pi darko, that you do the best for each and every individual child. You're automatically going to see if it works for this child, whether it's a girl or whether it's a boy. The rules are the same, just the person changes. So you adjust the chinuch according to the person. So it's like having two different boys. You'd have a boy and a girl. So I never teach anything about the genders. I don't think it makes a difference. If you're being mechanech individually.
And if you're being mechanech individually and you're dealing with, let's say, a more sensitive child, so is the way that you handle chutzpah different in that case?
Let's say even if you need to discipline a more sensitive child, you need just an ounce of a tiny gram of discipline instead of a pound of discipline, because he's more sensitive. So the gram of discipline will have the same impact on him that a pound of discipline will have on the tougher child. That's the idea. You have to know who you're dealing with in order to know how to deal with.
Right. And would you say that there's a certain age, let's say that, or maybe an age or at a certain point when a child's actions, get to a certain level where it's reflecting something more and maybe more intervention is necessary? Like at one point, either an age or is it maybe like a certain, threshold of what type of action they're doing that at a certain point you're just like, okay, this has gotten to a new level at this point.
Right. So I don't think it's a matter of age. I think it's a matter of, like you say, level. When children do things that are more extreme, then intervention can be required, can be necessary. Like, let's say a child is tantruming. So children tantrum. What if a child, when he tantrums, he breaks glass, he breaks things, like he hurts people? One child, the father told me, was fighting with his sister, 8-year-old. He took a knife and he threw it up in the air and it actually fell on his sister. Baruch Hashem, she was okay. But I'm saying these are scary things. A child pulls a knife. It's not just, now children 4 years old can do these things. They're not aware. You teach them, or you keep them away from knives, or you keep the knives away from them. But when you see there's something more here than just the regular, it's more extreme. A mother just asked me about her 4-year-old. He's quiet, maybe 6-year-old. I'm sorry. He's quiet and he doesn't talk. He doesn't like the food. He doesn't like supper. He won't eat for 3 days. He won't tell her that I don't like supper. But this is more extreme. He's keeping things inside and he has crazy tantrums.
Right.
So that's extreme. You have a child who's not having any friends in school. He's already 6 years old, 7 years old, and he doesn't have play dates with anyone, doesn't get together with anyone. And the teacher says he's a loner at recess. He's all by himself. That's extreme. Something needs more. You have a child saying, I want to.
What does that more look like then?
That's no. You need to have it. Yeah. What more looks like is you need to have professional intervention. Now, sometimes you need to have a diagnosis, and you don't need necessarily a therapist. You can go to a parenting expert or somebody who's a competent authority, who's experienced, a teacher, a principal, if they have enough knowledge with these types of things. Sometimes you have to go to a therapist, a psychologist, a social worker. You have to go to someone who's proficient in these areas. But let's put it to you like this. Once you see something is extreme, you need intervention and you need outside help. However, you're going to go about getting that. If you're not sure it's extreme, you should discuss it with somebody who's a teacher or a principal or your rabbi, your competent authority, that they should tell you. There's one more case I was talking about, and that's when a child says, I'm going to die. Now, I think this is important here. A mother just asked me on a workshop, my daughter said she wanted to die. So I said, it's nothing. Wow. You're making this face. And I said to the mother, it's nothing, laugh it off. It's a joke. Don't even pay attention to it. And then one of the mothers chatted into the workshop. She says, what do you mean? Maybe the girl was molested. She heard a whole big speech from a big therapist who's an expert on molestation, who said that one of the signs of a kid being molested is, I said, I want to die. So now all the people hearing this are going to say, oy vey, so maybe this, maybe that. And I said, no, and I still ruled it out. I said, why? Because this girl is happy-go-lucky. And she just saying it, so she said it one time, big deal. Right. If you tell me she's anxious, she's nervous, she's serious, she's never smiling, she's always saying, I want to die every few days or once a week, or kill myself, or I'm going to go to Gehenna, then it's part of a whole picture, not just one isolated detail. And actually, a child came to us this week, a 7-year-old, a 9-year-old, that I said he has to go for therapy. He's been molested. But that's because this exact picture was happening. But this mother with the 5-year-old, I said it's normal. And actually, the next week or two, I asked the mother, is she still saying it? No, she's in a great mood. She's happy.
Really? Wow.
But that's also an example of something extreme. When you can't take what kids say literally when they're younger. But if it's part of a picture, a constant, consistent picture, that's something you have to take into consideration. Just say quickly, a mother told me about a 5-year-old. She comes up to mother, mommy, I want to chop your head off and kill you. So the mother started smiling, but if I die, she says, I'm going to die if you cut my head off. So the girl says, that's okay. You can die. But the mother says, but I want to do mitzvahs. So the girl says, yeah, but you did enough mitzvahs. You can go to Gan Eden already. What did the mother do? The mother didn't take it seriously. And I think a few minutes later, I remember the girl says, well, mommy, I love you so much. Understand, don't, just because we're saying what we're saying doesn't mean you should become paranoid. When something is extreme,
Right.
you'll see it again and again and again for a while. Just one time here and one time.
Right. One-off blips are not nothing to rattle the boat too much.
That's it.
Right. Would you say that there are specific, let's say, tools or techniques, or like frameworks that you'd recommend to help parents, when trying to parent their children's midos, either in general or, chutzpah specifically?
I mean, like we said, there are the ways to channel them. I think that you have to be very close with your children, honestly. I think you have to have a close connection with them. It doesn't mean, and please understand, you're not your child's friend. That's a big mistake. You are your child's friend. You're your child's best friend. You're not your child's equal. That's what I meant to say.
Right.
You have to guide your child. You have to take care of him, advise him, and you know more than him. You have to guide him. You have to mechanech him. However, if you're not your child's best friend, won't accept what you have to offer. Now, that doesn't mean you shouldn't discipline. I want to tell you something interesting. There are children, we call them accepting children. There are fighting children, but the accepting children, they need the parents to be more assertive. Parents think being a friend means explaining everything and being very liberal and never disciplining the child. There are children that thrive on discipline. And when you're strong and assertive, they thrive and they appreciate that and they're waiting for that. I know mothers have told me that when I've told them to be assertive, the girls started writing them love notes afterwards, after a week or two. Mommy, I love you. You're such a great mommy. And there are mothers that have told me that they resent their parents because they never taught them boundaries. So the point here is, but to be close with your child enough that you do what's good for them and that they know that what's important to them is important to you. I think that's the biggest weapon against. I'll give you one more example, and I'll whatever. But a boy wanted a present for the Afikoman. So he told his mother, I want this and this, $100 plus, $160. Mother says, my budget is $30. Take it or leave it. The boy didn't come out of his room the second Seder. Stayed in his room the second Seder, didn't come out. And then 10 days later, they're still arguing about it and back and forth. If you're on your child's side, what should you? How do you do this? You don't have a big budget, and you want to teach the child that money doesn't grow on trees. So how do you do it? So what you should do is you tell the child, 160, way beyond our budget, but let's think how we can make this happen. Let's think. You want this and this gadget. Maybe, you know what? I'll save up a little bit. Every month I'll save a little bit. You save. Maybe we'll take some presents we get for Hanukkah from relatives and we'll put aside and we'll make it happen. Or maybe we won't buy the brand name, but we'll get something on sale. We'll wait for sale days and we'll get something similar on sale for a little bit cheaper. Or maybe we won't get this gadget, but we'll get that thing that you really want. And that's more affordable. And I'll go a little bit more than my budget. I won't just be, but there are parents, we say like this, the child comes before the chinuch. And I think that also wraps up what you asked me about teaching values. The child comes before the chinuch means what's important to if I just be mechanech the child, too bad. You have to know the budget is $30 and too bad. So that I don't take the child's feelings into consideration. So the chinuch comes first and the child's feelings come second. It has to be the other way around. The child's feelings are more important. So what about the chinuch? Child will understand because I'm not buying it for him. I'm not right away, yes, you can buy whatever you want. No, we'll work towards it. But the child will know. Money, you have to take responsibility with money. You have to work. Let's scratch a little bit from here, a little bit from here, take a little bit from here, but we'll work together and you're going to get it. I'm on your side.
Right.
If you're on the child's side, he'll accept your values. I think that's the biggest weapon against chutzpah. Also, using motivation, not obligation, like we said before. It's another big tool.
Right.
And
so I'll give you a specific, let's say, scenario. What does, let's say a parent's child is, let's say, becoming either more religious or less religious, but I guess let's go with, let's say, getting more religious, and the parents are not feeling comfortable with it. It goes against their values, their midos, their not necessarily midos that were, more the value system that they tried to, and the child is kind of in a way rebelling against it. And that can go either way, meaning if the child is, let's say, becoming less religious or becoming more religious. What does a parent do in that situation? Is the answer, again, the same idea? As long as the child knows that the parent's on my side, that's gonna be able to combat that, or is there more that a parent should be doing in that type of situation?
So look, every situation is different. If the child is becoming more religious, I think parents should be proud because the child is doing exactly what they taught him. They taught him that values are important. So he found religious values and he learned from the parents that values are important. So he's following in their footsteps. That's really, but if they bechanach him the right way, they should respect the choices that he's making because he's his own person and he's making right choices. Now, I mean, what I mean to say is, I didn't say that right. What I mean to say is that if what's important to a child is important to me, then it's not my stuff has to be his stuff. It's that I'm me and he's him. I'll acknowledge his right to be an independently successful person. It doesn't have to be what I want. I have my values. So values are important to me. They want the kid to be them and do what they want, and the child is a person. He has his wants. That's exactly what we're telling you today. Child has his wants, channel them in the right direction instead of stomping them out and squelching them and saying, you have to do what I want. But I think it should be very encouraged because your child is following in what you've taught him that values are important. When a child is off the derech, it's a very different story. The way to bring children back when they're off the derech is to show them unconditional love. But even if you've shown them all your lives unconditional love and they still went off, you may be personally hurt. You may take it like, look, it didn't work. I showed you, how could he do this to me? It's nothing to do. Today the pull is so strong that children will go off as much as they love their parents. I know kids dealt with one kid that when he was 25, he said, went to his mother, said, Mom, I stayed religious for 5 years, but I can't do it anymore. I have to think about myself. So what is the answer for these kids? You have to pour on the unconditional love to an extreme. We dealt with
meaning what?
I'll explain. You have to pour it on Ad herself, do more, give them gifts, keep kesher with them more, take an interest in their things, invite them more, go out with them more. Up it to a much higher level. There's a friend of mine, his name is Avi Fisher. I don't know if you heard of him. He has a thing called Twisted Parenting.
Twisted Parenting, sure.
That's exactly what Twisted Parenting is based on. Now, I'm not saying to go to the extremes, he says, but he said, Ad kedei kach, I want you to hear something. He said he dealt with a Satmar principal, Satmar girls' school. And this lady had a kid off the derech, and he made her get dog tags, the kind the army people wear with their names on it. And the boy would wear dog tags, and the principal would wear dog tags. And they said on them, I love you, you're the best. Each one had on them identical ones. They would wear them. In school, she wore them under her, covered over. But out of school, she had to wear them in the open. A Satmar Rebbitzin walking around with dog tags. I love you. You're the best. You're the this. That's how you bring kids back. We had a kid that we
Wow.
dealt with, a
Wow, wow, wow.
14-year-old girl that went so off. She became a woman of ill repute, prostitute at the age of 14, Hashem Yirachim, Beis Yaakov, and drug addict
Wow.
and alcoholic. Don't ask. Chiloni altogether. And the father went for advice to one of the Gdolei Yisrael, actually to my Rosh Yeshiva, Rev Adis. He told him, only love. I know one word, love. The parents showed the girl love,
Hmm.
and love, and love, and love. She got married recently. She was Chayzer B'tshuva. Took about 10 years.
Wow.
It worked.
Hmm.
Worked. Don't give up. We're telling parents, don't give up.
Right. Taking the long view. Taking the long view.
You show the love, and you show it more, not less. When it's not working, show it more, not less. It will work, as Hashem, and you'll see lots of. Of course, you have to daven.
Amazing.
Don't stop
Thank
davening.
you.
But that was, we said it before in the workshop.
Right. Do you have any final message? I know you've shared such incredible wisdom already, and if not, totally fine. But is there any final message, on this topic, or anything regarding parenting?
Yeah, I do think davening for your kids is a must. Now, everybody, this sounds like a cliche. It's so, nadosh. So no, we're talking about short davenings in your own words. Like, Hashem, help me with this kid. I can't stop. Hashem, make him a mensch, make her a this, make her that. 5 seconds. A mother told us that her son didn't put on tzitzis for like a year. And he's of age, he's supposed to put on tzitzis already, or whatever it was. And she's trying a whole year, everything, pulling her hairs out that she should put in. No. And I told her daven 3 times a day for 5 seconds. 3 days later, I think it was, the boy comes over to Mommy, can you put me on tzitzis? Is actually daven, whatever you do, never give up on your children. We said you have the unconditional love, increase it if things are not working. If that's not working, keep your davening going even when things are working. We've heard of, I'll tell you something. I was at a Sheva Brachas, and this family is an exceptional family. Exceptional family. The other family brought me in to be by the wedding, the Sheva Brachas and everything, but I'm close with the other family. But the Mechutanim, the parents of the Kala, got up. There's such a special girl. And the father got up and he started crying. They want you to know, he has one after the other. All his children are amazing. I want you to know that every Shabbos morning, my wife gets up at 5 o'clock and says the whole Sefer to my children. Everything you see here is in her credit.
Wow.
But you don't have to say, so now you don't have to you're going to get up 5 o'clock. You won't be able to function the whole day. No, 5 seconds, not 5 o'clock.
Right.
5 seconds, but every day 5 seconds. Give yourself a time, 9 o'clock in the morning, 5 seconds. Hashem, save me from my children. And Hashem will save you and your children. And you'll see lots of nachat.
Amen. Thank you so much. Really, so much incredible wisdom here. And really, the key of really having that relationship and having the children know that we're on their side and
you can
guiding them
and discipline them too. Don't be afraid, but if it's good for them.
Thank you so much again, and really an incredible chance to talk to you tonight. Thank you very, very, very much.
Thank you for having me and tolerating my talking so much.
Of course. Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of the Jews Next Door. I hope you enjoyed as much as I did. I'd love to hear your takeaways. Reach out to us. Reach out to me at yair@jenoff.org, hi@jenoff.org. You can check us out on the website. You could leave a question there. We'd love to be in touch. Please be in touch. Check us out on Instagram at Parenting the Jews Next Door. Hit me up on Twitter at Yair Menshel. And we're on TikTok now too. We have some great content, a lot of really great insights into parenting, tips, parenting pointers, reaction videos, and quotes. We have a lot going on. We have a lot of articles. You want to check it out. Check it out at jenoff.org. You won't be sorry you did. And I look forward to hearing from you. And if you haven't yet subscribed to the podcast, make sure you subscribe and share it with your family and friends. Looking forward to another great episode next week.